Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are wading into a really persistent debate. Is milk actually harmful?
Yeah, it's a big one.
We've seen these popular books, like the China study. They've convinced a lot of people, including one of our readers, that milk is just, well, bad for you, especially here in Asia.
Right. And our source material today comes from an academic who's really digging into the science behind those big claims.
So what's the plan?
Well, the mission today is really twofold. First, let's look at the evidence around the three biggest myths. Cancer, early death, bone fractures.
Okay.
But maybe more importantly, we want to highlight how crucial critical thinking is when you see these health headlines. It's about raising awareness.
Got it. So let's start with maybe the scariest claim, that milk causes cancer or shortens your life. Some critics were really strong on this early on.
Oh, definitely. I mean, suggesting blacklisting people who promoted dairy, that's intense.
So what does the science actually say?
This is where we have to be super clear about a fundamental idea in science. Association is not the same as causation. Just because two things happen near each other doesn't mean one caused the other.
Right, correlation versus causation.
Exactly. And when researchers looked at almost 100 major reports, the overall picture was, well, pretty consistent.
And that was?
Milk and dairy intake show either no link or maybe an unclear link to cancer risk overall. The idea that milk causes cancer, it's just not really backed up by the bulk of the evidence.
Okay, so the cancer link seems weak, according to that analysis. But what about the longevity thing? The early death claim?
Yeah, good point. If we look at the really big picture summaries, these meta-analyses, there was a huge one in the New England Journal of Medicine.
Oh, yeah, that's a major journal.
Right. It looked at 29 big cohort studies, asked that exact question about mortality.
And the verdict?
Their conclusion was pretty clear. Total milk intake didn't matter if it was high fat, low fat, whatever. It's unrelated to overall mortality. So that really puts a dent in the milk kills you early argument.
Okay, that's pretty compelling evidence against those first two myths. Now, what about bone fractures? This is where it gets kind of dramatic, right? With Walter Willett.
Ah, yes, the Willett situation. It's fascinating because it shows how complex this can get.
He was the chair of nutrition at Harvard, a huge name. And he often said publicly that drinking milk increases your risk of breaking bones.
Exactly. And because of his position, people listened globally. But here's the twist.
What's that?
If you actually read his own published research paper on the topic, the paper itself concluded there was no association between drinking milk and the rate of bone fractures.
Wait, really? His own paper said no link?
That's right. He faced criticism from other scientists, basically accusing him of, well, letting his personal views perhaps overshadow his own findings when speaking publicly.
Wow, yeah. It really hammers home why you need to look past the headlines, even from famous experts, and check the original source.
Precisely. It's a powerful lesson in scientific ethics and critical consumption of information.
Okay, so the big, scary claims, cancer, death, fractures, seem largely unsupported by the overall science. But let's talk about a very real issue for many people. Lactose intolerance. Our reader mentioned this too.
Absolutely crucial point. We know the stats. Something like 9 out of 10 East Asians and, over 60% of adults worldwide are lactose intolerant.
So it makes you wonder.
Right. If it's the majority condition for adults globally, can we really call it a disease? Or is it just, the default human setting after infancy for most populations? It puts the whole milk is essential idea into perspective culturally.
That's a really interesting way to frame it. So acknowledging that sensitivity, why do so many governments, like Thailand's, for example, actively push milk consumption?
It often comes down to broader public health goals, things like fighting malnutrition or, in Thailand's case, trying to increase the average height of young people.
They actually have a target for that.
Yeah, they set a goal something like aiming for 25 liters per person per year by 2027. It shows that, from a governmental public health standpoint, they see the nutritional benefits as outweighing those widely publicized but perhaps exaggerated risks.
Okay, so wrapping this up then, the core message seems to be, while lactose intolerance is definitely real and relevant for many, these big, frightening claims that milk is a direct cause of cancer, early death, or more broken bones.
They just aren't strongly supported when you look at the whole body of scientific evidence, the rigorous studies.
So the takeaway for you listening is really about thinking critically.
Exactly. It raises this important question. You've got public health goals pushing one way, maybe promoting milk for nutrition. Then you have these loud, sometimes distorted dietary warnings pulling another way. How do you navigate that?
You have to be able to tell the difference.
Between correlation, just things happening together, and actual causation, one thing directly causing another. That's the skill you need to cultivate to make the best choices for your own health.